It was the kind of evening that should have felt like a reward. The hotel ballroom glowed in soft golds and ivory whites. The string quartet played something elegant I didn't recognize, and people in sleek dresses and pressed suits clinked. Glasses filled with laughter and future plans. And then it happened. "That's just our nanny," she said, light, effortless, like it was truth. And suddenly, my presence shrank into silence. Her words didn't explode. They whispered, but somehow, they cut deeper than any scream could. I stood there rooted like an ancient oak, still holding the silver clutch I'd borrowed, still smiling that gentle, proud smile a mother wears when her child graduates. Summa cum laude. My daughter. My only daughter. She didn't look at me when she said it. She was turned toward a group of her polished new friends, doctors, lawyers, socialites, and she laughed, one hand delicately brushing her hair behind her ear. I paid for that education. I cleaned houses on my knees, burned my hands on irons, nursed strangers' babies so mine could someday rise higher than I ever could. I skipped dinners. I skipped sleep. I skipped life so she wouldn't have to. But in this shimmering ballroom, I was nothing but a shadow with a name erased, a story discarded. Flashback 1999, Brooklyn back then. The ceilings leaked and the radiator hissed through winter like an angry old man. The apartment smelled of Lysol and lentil soup, and the floor creaked just right outside her bedroom. She was 5. I was 29, a single mother, freshly abandoned by a man who thought the world was his buffet, and I was just one of the appetizers. I remember the day I made the promise. She had a fever. Her cheeks were red, and her fingers too small for the thermometer. I kept reusing. I sat beside her with a cool rag, humming lullabies through the static of my own panic. She blinked at me and whispered, "Will we ever have a big house, Mama?" I looked into her glassy eyes and said, "You won't just have a big house, baby. You'll go to college. You'll change your stars." That promise became my religion. Back to present day, she didn't see me freeze. Or maybe she did, and that was the point. I stood quietly, sipping water from a wine glass, while they all toasted to her brilliance, top of her class. Someone said, "She's getting an offer from Yale Law," said another. "She's so independent." The hostess gushed independent.as if she'd risen from the dirt without roots. I looked down at my hands, the veins more visible now. The years of scrubbing, folding, lifting, soothing, showing in every wrinkle. I never cared about credit, but this was erasure. A daughter who introduced me not as her mother but as a paid caretaker, a paycheck, a role, not blood. Flashback her high school years started subtly. She began calling me by my first name when friends were over. "Ruth, can you bring some snacks?" At first, I laughed. She said it made her feel more grown up, but slowly, it became the norm. Not just with friends, even in front of teachers, even in front of the school counselor when I came in to discuss college options. She's like a mentor, she once said to someone, not a mother. A mentor. I told myself it was just a phase. Teens get embarrassed. They want space. They redefine boundaries. But each time she removed the word mother from her mouth, it felt like peeling skin from a wound that wouldn't close. Present. The ride home after the dinner. She offered to call me a ride. "I can get myself home," I said gently. She looked annoyed. "It's really fine, Ruth. Don't make this weird." Ruth again. I nodded, not wanting a scene. But inside, a storm was growing. She leaned in to hug me carefully, so as not to smudge her makeup, and whispered, "Thanks for coming. And thanks, for everything back then." Back then, I watched her step into a black car with her new friends, her new life. Not once did she turn to wave. Flashback the first tuition payment 12 for OO. That was the amount for her first semester. I remember the number like it's carved into my bones. I'd saved for years, took on extra shifts, did overnight cleaning gigs in office buildings where no one knew my name. The day I handed over that check, I cried. Not because I had nothing left in my account, but because I believed it was the beginning of something beautiful. The reward, the dream coming true, present. Homogeneity sat in my little apartment that night, the air still and hollow. I looked at the framed photo on my shelf, the one from her 5th birthday, when she wore the glittery paper crown and hugged me like I was the whole universe. She used to call me her queen. I whispered into the dark. When did I become the help in your story? Silence. Not even the fridge dared hum. Wasi tried not to let it fester. I made tea. I opened windows. I let sunlight fall across the photo albums that hadn't been touched in years. But grief doesn't leave quietly. It lodges itself beneath the ribs. It curls like ivy around your breath. It steals your sleep, then your appetite, and then your faith. For weeks after that graduation party, I went through the motions. Grocery store, post office, laundry, bills, silence. She didn't call. Flashback: the first time she lied about me, it was during her second year at college. I had made a surprise visit 2 hours on the train with her favorite chicken soup in a thermos and a homemade scarf I'd crocheted through my lunch breaks. She opened the dorm room door and looked surprised, not happy surprised, awkward surprised. There were 2 girls in the room, friends I assumed. She hesitated before saying, "Oh, guys, this is Ruth. She's family, just family, not my mother, not the woman who worked night shifts. So I could afford books. Just Ruth, just family." I smiled through it, pretended it didn't sting. Later, when I asked her why she hadn't introduced me properly, she shrugged. "People don't get it," she said. "I mean, our story's complicated. You raised me, yeah, but you also worked for other families. You know." No, I didn't know. That was the first time she rewrote our past in front of someone else. Present the illusion cracks. One evening, I opened Facebook, the little blue world where mothers watch their children grow in digital albums, and captioned milestones. She had posted pictures from the graduation, her in her cap and gown, laughing with professors, hugging her college mentor, standing with friends. In one photo, she was holding a bouquet of roses. The caption read, "To everyone who believed in me like family, thank you. I wouldn't be here without you." There were tags, her professors, her study group, her friend's mother, not me. I wasn't even in the comments. I stared at that screen for 10 full minutes, until the white glow blurred behind my tears. Flashback: sacrifices and silence. There's a kind of sacrifice that doesn't get applause. The nights I walked home in the snow because the last bus had left. The lunch breaks I spent paying overdue bills instead of eating. The job offers I turned down because they didn't allow me to be home in time to tuck her in when she was 12. I sold my wedding ring to pay for her music camp. She never asked where the money came from. She just smiled and said, "You always find a way, Mama." Yes, I did. I always found a way, even when it hurt. Present. The phone call that didn't come. Weeks passed. Then months. I tried to call her once. She didn't answer. I sent a message, just checking in. "I hope you're settling into your new job." She replied the next day, "Thanks. Super busy right now. We'll call when things calm down." But things never calm down, do they? Not for daughters who've rewritten their story. Flashback: her last year of law school. That final year was brutal for both of us. She was juggling internships, exams, networking. I was working overtime, still covering what her scholarships didn't. I remember a night she called me crying. She had failed a mock trial and felt like a fraud. I stayed on the phone with her for 2 hours, whispering, "You've got this," again and again. Like a spell, I believed more than she did. When she passed the bar, I baked her favorite lemon cake and wrote her a letter, a long, messy, tear-stained letter about how proud I was. She never mentioned it. A week later, she posted a photo with her mentor. The caption read, "To the ones who stood by me every step of the way, this is your win too." Present: a visit uninvited. I showed up to her apartment one Sunday afternoon. She opened the door wearing yoga pants and a distracted smile. "Oh, hey, I wasn't expecting anyone." No, I said. "I just wanted to see you." She let me in, but the air felt tight. The couch smelled like expensive candles and untouched books. We sat for 20 minutes. Small talk, weather, work, nothing real. Then, her phone buzzed. A friend was coming by. A brunch plan. She didn't invite me to stay. As I stood at the door, I asked gently, "Have I done something, sweetheart?" She blinked. "What? No, of course not." I smiled sadly. "Then why do you treat me like a stranger?" She didn't answer, just looked away and said, "It's complicated." That was the last time I saw her face in person. Flashback: when she was little, she used to beg to sleep in my bed during storms. She'd curl into me, clutching my arm like a lifeline. "Mama, tell me the story again," she'd whisper, and I'd tell it. How I was poor but proud. How I dreamed of more for her. How I saw the fire in her even when she was tiny. How I knew she'd make it far. How she was my miracle. She believed it. So did I. Present: the letter. One night, I wrote her a real letter. No email, no text, just ink and paper. Something she could hold. Something that carried weight. "My darling, I don't know who I am in your story anymore. I don't know what you tell people when they ask where you came from, but I know who I am. I am the woman who bled time and hope into your life. I am the hands that packed your lunches, folded your dreams into duffel bags, whispered prayers over your tired eyes. I am your mother. Even if you've stopped saying it, even if you've forgotten, I remember everything. Love. Ruth. Mama, I didn't send it. I folded it carefully and placed it between the pages of the family Bible I kept beside my bed. The whisper of healing grief has no finish line, but it has resting points. I stopped waiting for her to call. I started walking more, reading again, even joined a community poetry group. One evening, I read a piece aloud. It was about a mother and a storm and the silence after love disappears. A woman in the front row cried. Afterward, she hugged me and whispered, "That was my story too." And I realized something. I wasn't the only erased mother. We were everywhere, quiet, invisible, but not gone. It had been nearly a year, 12 months of no calls, no updates, no birthdays remembered, and yet, every Sunday morning, I still poured 2 cups of tea. Habit is its own ghost, but so slowly I'd begun reclaiming space in my own life. I planted lavender in the window box. I started volunteering at the library. I took long walks without my phone. I was no longer waiting on her silence to lift, until one day it did. The call, it came in the middle of a rainy Tuesday afternoon. I almost didn't answer. Unknown number. Too late in the day for kindness. Too early for bad news. Ruth. The voice cracked. It was her. Silence stretched between us like a bridge waiting for someone to step forward. Then, she said, I don't know why I'm calling. I saw an old photo of us today, from when I got into college. You were crying. I hadn't remembered that until now. My throat tightened. I've been thinking, she added, about everything, about you, about what I said at graduation, and all the times I didn't say anything. She didn't apologize, not yet, but this wasn't silence. It was something else, maybe a seed. The coffee meeting she asked to meet. I hesitated. Then I agreed. We met at a quiet cafe near my apartment. She arrived late, hair tucked neatly behind her ears, looking more like a woman now than I'd remembered. I don't even know where to begin, she said, holding her coffee like it might anchor her. Begin wherever your truth is, I said softly, and so she did. Her truth. She told me things I hadn't expected, that she'd always felt less than around her classmates, that the pressure to appear polished, accomplished, separate from struggle, was suffocating. I didn't erase you because I was ashamed of you, she whispered. I erased you because I was ashamed of me, of where I came from, of the fact that I had to lean on someone. She looked up, eyes glossy. I thought pretending I got here alone would make me seem strong, independent, but it made me hollow. I said nothing, because what could I say? Some truths require silence, but I reached across the table and touched her hand, and that was enough. The memory box. She came to my apartment the next week. I made soup. She brought a cake. We sat on the floor and opened the box I had kept for 25 years. Inside were photos, report cards, doodles, letters, receipts for her tuition, a piece of her baby blanket, the scarf I had made for her college visit, and the letter I never sent. She read it, slowly, word by word. When she finished, she held it to her chest and sobbed. I don't deserve you, she whispered. I cupped her face and said, you never had to. The apology, it didn't come wrapped in drama. No violin swell. No grand gesture. Just this. I'm sorry for trying to rewrite a story that was already beautiful. I'm sorry I forgot that my strength didn't come from pretending to be alone but from being deeply, irrevocably loved. The public correction. 3 months later, she was invited to speak at a young women's mentorship event in the city. She asked me to come. I sat in the second row, heart trembling. She stood before a room of fresh-faced girls in pressed blazers and heels. My name is Elise. I'm a lawyer, a first-generation graduate, and everything I am, everything I've built began with one woman's hands. Her name is Ruth. She's not just part of my story. She is my story. She looked at me then, right at me, not past me, not around me, through me. And she wasn't my nanny, she added. She was and is my mother. The room applauded, but I didn't cry, because in that moment, something inside me was finally still. Full circle. I still keep the old photos, the receipts, the hand-drawn cards she gave me on Mother's Day, not because I need to remember what I did, but because I need to remember who I was, who I still am, not a role, not a ghost, not a title erased at a dinner party. I am the mother who stayed. I am the woman who endured. I am Ruth. Final reflection: motherhood is not always thanked. It's not always posted or praised or tagged in glowing captions, but it is carved into the soul of a child. And even when that child forgets, the story doesn't, because love never needed credit, only memory and time, and sometimes a letter kept in a book beside the bed.